The biggest news of yesterday, today, and tomorrow will be and is Donald Trump. I think there are three important stories today. There'll be a different story tomorrow, but today it is, again, digesting, really trying to make sense of this four-count felony indictment of Donald Trump for his efforts to try to subvert democracy and disrupt the peaceful transfer of power after he lost the 2020 presidential election. That's story number one. Number two is this, indict, rally, repeat. This is the reaction from the Republican base. Trump is indicted. He has a big rally. And then we get these same reactions from GOP leaders as well as some of his voters. And then the third big story today is everybody learning who Washington, D.C. District Court Judge Tanya Chutkan is. Many folks getting acquainted with her today for the very first time. Tomorrow, we're going to be tracking the appearance of Donald Trump in that D.C. courthouse. He won't be appearing before Judge Chutkan. He'll be appearing before, in all likelihood, a magistrate judge. But today, Professor Carter, let's talk about these three Trump stories, starting with Judge Tanya Chutkan. You are in the DMV area. Had you heard or knew anything about Judge Chutkan before? She's blown up now in the media and on social media as a result of being randomly appointed to preside over the indictment of Donald Trump in the D.C. District Court.
Not really. I mean, we heard about her a little bit with the January 6th proceedings because she's presided over some of those cases. But I would say probably before today, like many judges, I mean, they labor in obscurity. Their job is not to be celebrities. They're not, politicians. They're there to administer justice. They're appointed to those positions. They're confirmed through Senate hearings and other things. So most of the time, we don't know who these people are. And honestly, save for Donald Trump and some of his supporters making a lot of hay about this particular judge, we probably still wouldn't know much about Judge Chutkan. So, I mean, it's like, any other place. She is now going to be a much more popular judge, probably to her chagrin, than she was even 3 months ago.
Well, you're right. Most judges, no one can name them unless you're a lawyer and you're appearing before them in court on a regular basis. Most of them, like you said, their jobs are behind the scenes. The cases that come before them may make news, but unless they are sitting in some trial that is televised on television or something, and they insert themselves in that trial process, typically we don't know who they are. But Jamarr, Senator Ted Cruz wants everybody to know who Judge Chutkan is because he spent the better part of his podcast today berating her, even though she was appointed by a Senate which he sat on. He was sitting on the Judiciary Committee when she was confirmed in 2014. He did send some questions to her, written questions, but he did not ask her any questions during her confirmation hearing. And then he voted to confirm her. Now, all of a sudden, she's unfit. Mm-hmm. She's super liberal. She can't be trusted to preside over this case. She's not qualified. And the attacks go on and on and on. What do you expect to see out of Judge Chutkan despite these baseless and meritless attacks by Cruz and the other parts of the Trump base?
Yeah, well, Areva, let's just be honest. I mean, these attacks are coming from someone who is presiding over a case of somebody they want to defend. They still want to defend Donald Trump. They still want to ride the wave with his voters, right? That people that are supporting him they think that will hold the Republican Party, which I think they'll learn in the end it won't. But to your question, right, it's absolutely, I think that the judge will be fair. I think that she has proven that she would be fair. She's had Democrats and Republicans in the Senate vote for her to be confirmed. Obviously, the judiciary process, especially in confirmation, is very tough. It's very rigorous. And when you make it through that process, they believe that you're going to be fair, that you're going to be impartial, and that you're going to execute justice from the bench. And we've seen that she's done that before. And she's done that in a way that's been fair. And I think that she will do that. The Republicans don't want more details and more information to come out because they're still trying to cover for Donald Trump and they still want to cover for their involvement in January 6th situation.
Yeah, the hypocrisy is just startling. Is nauseating, really, is a better word, Professor Carter, because I'm thinking about Eileen Cannon. So you have this judge in Florida that's presiding over the indictment, the first federal indictment involving the mishandling of documents. Haven't heard Ted Cruz or any other Republicans go after Judge Cannon because they like her, because she has tried to rule in a way favorable to Trump when the documents case was first assigned to her. She was rejected, hand slapped by the 11th Circuit for some of her efforts to go above and beyond to appease Donald Trump. And now you have, and I should note, Judge Cannon has no criminal trial experience, has not ever presided over a criminal trial of the magnitude in which this records case, this mishandling of records case is. Contrast that with Judge Chutkan, who was in private practice, was a public defender in D.C., one of the toughest offices in the country to even get hired by. Thousands of people apply, only a couple of people are ever hired. So some of the best lawyers in the country work at that D.C. public defender's office. 30 jury trials herself, appellate experience, has been on the court since 2014. Just check the box in terms of her credentials, her educational background, all stellar, but yet somehow she's unfit, where, Judge Eileen Cannon, who can't check many of those boxes, is the perfect judge for the case involving Donald Trump.
And I think you outlined why that is. I mean, anybody who is not a Trump appointee or some other Republican appointee, they're going to say is illegitimate, is an abuse. I mean, they seem to think that every judge that's been appointed by a Democrat is somehow a puppet of this particular regime and is acting in a way to sort of weaponize, I think that's the word they've been using, the justice system against Donald Trump, rather than the fact that this man did lots of things that other people thought were indictable offenses. I don't know if that's a word, right? But these things were clearly worthy of indictment. So I agree with Jamarr. This woman is not going to risk her professional reputation to score political points with Democrats. She has a job for life. Like, there's no upside for her to do anything against Donald Trump. And the same thing with Judge Cannon. I mean, I think Judge Cannon was selected, quite frankly, because she's so young. I think she might be in her early 40s. Again, these are lifetime appointments. She could be on this bench another 30, 40, 50 years, right, if she's healthy. And so these are not necessarily about people's credentials and what people's abilities are, right? This is about what can be your legacy. And the Trump the Trump legacy was building up these lower courts in addition to the Supreme Court to really elongate his shadow over this country beyond his presidency, because he only gets 2 terms, right? Any president only gets 2 terms, but these judges last a long time. And so Judge Cannon, it's not to besmirch her reputation. The facts are the facts. She has a much more shallow legal experience than Judge Chutkan, but she's young. She will be there for a long time. And barring anything, crazy, she's going to still be in charge of this Mar-a-Lago case.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to note Judge Cannon does come out of the Federalist Society, and the Federalist Society is an organization that was designed to start grooming law students to get them ready to sit on the federal bench, and many of them have to, vow allegiance to many of the far-right extremist positions in many cases. So Judge Cannon, although I think she is capable of being objective if she chooses to, but we should note that her background is, she does come out of the Federalist Society. She is affiliated with a group of lawyers that were handpicked by Trump and his team because, one, they were young, as you said, and they would be on the court for a lifetime, but also because they have expressed views that make it clear to Republicans like Donald Trump that they are going to make decisions in cases when there's an opportunity to do so that favor Republican ideology, principles, and values. There is no such group like that, I should tell you, on the Democratic side. In law school, there's no Federalist Society on the left that's recruiting law students and saying, to be in our group, you got to be you got to be against abortion, you got to be for affirmative action, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't happen that way. The Republicans have been much more intentional about packing the court with ideologues, and many of them, and Judge Cannon is one of them, their legal experience is scant. I sat on a committee in California where I interviewed judges for then Senator Kamala Harris, and some of the Republicans that were put up for these positions, you just would sit there and pull your hair out. Like, dude, you've been in court once. And you should be like a judge for life. Why? Tell me again. Run that by me. So again, kudos to Barack Obama for appointing a judge like Judge Chutkan that has real legal experience, chops, and acumen, and has proven an ability to, have the correct kind of temperament for this job.